Oh, it's fun, crazy. It's painful, but it's wonderful. What is the name?
It's Royce Unchained.
All right, Patrick, what is your state of the J.J. McCarthy situation after the win on Sunday against the Washington team that, by the way, I keep saying this, was as checked out as you can find?
Yes, it appeared that way. They had the early drive. They went down and they didn't score, and they said, "Out of hell with this." I said this a couple of times earlier. I was in Washington for 4 days over Thanksgiving. They're a little down on the Commanders out there, from what I could detect. Although they're also down on the Wizards and the Nationals. The only thing they got is the hockey team. So
Yeah, the Caps are good again.
that the Caps are good, but they're a little down on that team. I don't know if we should go raving about a performance where the other team got zero. That takes a little of the pressure off, doesn't it? When the other team gets zero, and the defense.
Yes.
I would say the first praise for that game should go to Flores' defense, and then maybe JJ. They did simplify things. They made it all easy throws. I can tell you one guy who isn't that pleased with the performance, no matter what he's saying publicly, is the guy who caught two passes for 11 yards or whatever it was, Justin Jefferson. So this guy's J.J. McCarthy could single-handedly keep this guy out of the Hall of Fame the way it's going here the last couple of weeks. So he
Most
was
expensive
okay.
decoy. Most
He was
expensive decoy in NFL history.
yeah, he played okay. They made him good throws, and he got a little more confident. But they gave him time. They gave him time, and there was no pressure on him. So we'll see. I don't know. I'd say so far, if you assess him through the whole time, he's had one good game and one good quarter. How many has he played now? Five? Has he
Games, I
played
think he's
five?
at 7 games, and he did come back. They did win the Detroit game, so he probably gets a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
of that
yeah,
game as
yeah. But
well.
again, they had 143 yards. He passed for
Oh, yeah.
143
Oh,
yards. It
it's
wasn't like they
nope.
lit up the stadium. So we'll see when the pressure gets on. They go. Now Dallas has a poor defense, but he's going to have to. He'll probably have to get him into the 30-point range to win that game, right? We'll
Yeah,
see
because
how
they can
that
score
goes.
points.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're very they put up points and then figure out a way to get beat usually, but we'll see. I saw Suhan compared him to Aikman and many other Peyton Manning and many other great quarterbacks, which is okay if you want to do that, that's fine. But when you watch this guy throw the football in Green Bay and a couple other games, you said, "My God, is this awful?" I don't know if this one game makes up for it, but you know who, uh, who helped screw him up, though. We can see that after the last game is his coach O'Connell, who put all the, every fancy play he knew he wanted this kid to run, and now he had to go back and somebody had to convince him to strip her down to nothing, and just rely on the defense to win the game. So that's what we saw. But hey, they only play 17 of these things, so we overreact to every one of them, right? So that's
It's half
that's.
the fun. It's
I
more than
know
half
it
the
is. I
fun.
know it. You know, Purple Daily. If you can't overreact, you can't have a show, right? You have
Every
to
game's
over.
a season, Pat. Every
Yes,
game
it
within
is.
it is a season.
I agree with you. It is that. I mean, Chiefs fans right now, they're mad at Andy Reid. What do we have the right coach? How can we screw up? Travis Kelsey's terrible. He's dropping passes. Who cares that we've been to the Super Bowl 5 times or whatever it is? So, it's overreact. And by the way, the Chiefs are. A wonderful example, finally, of how the NFL legislates uh, competitiveness. How they're going to make you pay the price for being great eventually, right? And that's what they're doing. They're paying too many great players too much money to have anything behind those great players. So what it is an interesting system that you can that they want to punish a team with a great quarterback. We they want Mahomes on TV, don't they? But they're not going to get him this year because it finally got him. I think it also tells you how unbelievably well operated that crazy Belichick was with the Patriots, because that never happened to them. That Brady, they paid who they had to pay, but they didn't overpay guys, and they were able to keep winning Super Bowls. So uh,
And now they're back.
yeah,
Drake May. So Mahomes not being on TV for the playoffs definitely can hurt a bit. But now you've got Drake May. Like, this is the
yes,
genius of this league.
yes,
The
yes.
turnover of stars and things like that.
That
It's
is
brilliant.
that is true, and you know, I think the Chiefs are now so you know gone downhill so bad. The refs aren't even helping them anymore. They won a game. They won a big game for them earlier this year, but now they backed off. Buffalo too. I mean, Josh Allen is he's still the best there is in my opinion, and but they the Buffaloes had to destroy their team. They've had to let 30% of their great players go because of cap problems. But it is the genius of the NFL. But and the other genius is this guy went from terrible to, yeah, man, we got our quarterback. Kevin was right in one game against a horrible team that scored no points.
And if he struggles on Sunday night, we will be out again.
Yes, we will. That's what makes it great. You're
Even
right.
I don't go that far. I just said, you know what? The Washington game was baby steps, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
baby steps, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're so negative." Just look at that performance.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, as I just said, I think, I think after watching that, I think less of O'Connell than I did before it because of what he was trying to do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That he didn't adjust early on at all. He just and I don't care what anybody says. That injury he had after game two, that was a 2 weeker that they turned into 5 weeks because they were so afraid to get him back onto the field. In my opinion, he wasn't. It wasn't a severe injury, I don't think. But then again, I didn't see the X-rays or anything. But I don't think they were in any hurry to rush him back after the two horrible performances to start the season. So
Hey, I got a question for you. What was this league like in the '70s? Just as far as like where, without all the platforms like Twitter now, but what was it like? Because I know that people got mad at Fran a lot, and so, but like as far as just the ability to manipulate storylines and the fact that it's king.
I
Where was it
believe
at?
that fans were much more hardcore. They weren't they didn't turn on a team as rapidly as you do now, or they didn't get as high or as low. Well, with the Vikings when they first got good, they were constantly high, right? It was I mean the first time they went to the Super Bowl and everything, and we kind of had a look at the Vikings as infallible, even though they kept losing Super Bowls, and we tried to make up excuses for Super Bowl losses, and then I think after that we got a little more crusty about it, and. I've always said the Randy 1998 changed the whole attitude of Viking fans around here for a long time. They became more optimistic. We went from over our skis optimistic with Bud and the good teams there went to the four Super Bowls to kind of crusty expecting the worst and then even though the Moss team in 98 had the worst loss in the history of the franchise to Atlanta, we stayed optimistic for a long time. Now, I mean, the way you can communicate your feelings about a team are so much different that it's really hard to say. But you know, you got to remember going back to the early 70s, if you wanted to see a Viking home game on TV, you had to drive to Rochester, you know, if you were in the Twin Cities. It was blacked out. How was how was this league stupid enough to worry? You see, that's the difference. They were worried about the gate rather than selling tickets rather than getting hundreds of millions from television. So it was a completely different world. I remember driving to if the game was on Monday night, there was an ABC station that you could see in Faribault, so you didn't have to drive all the way to Rochester to see the game like people were doing most of the time because it was CBS. But somehow you got an ABC station in Faribault, and we drove down there a couple of times for Monday night games because I wasn't covering the Vikings. I was doing other stuff. But yeah, I mean it's a completely different world because everybody everybody sees every play now, and the league was we you know Roselle fixed this league in 1960 by sharing revenues, but they were still pretty backward in through the until TV money became started rolling in.
The fact I think it was what baseball, football, and I know hockey as well. The fact that the old school owners were convinced that if you showed games locally, home games,
Yeah,
you
people
would
wouldn't show up.
they wouldn't show up is one of the most
Well,
mind-boggling, hilarious things in
yeah.
retrospect.
Well, we had a lot of cheap Lutherans back then for baseball, but Calvin had the early years for a long time. They'd TV four home games on Friday nights in June and July, on Friday nights in June and July. Those were the only home games, and yeah, it was the whole. The gate was the whole thing, and the gate was, you know, $4 for a box seat, too.
Yeah,
So
that's the other thing.
it was, but they weren't getting the huge TV money. So yeah, it's to compare fan bases to there's how much bigger are we? 2.5 times or something than we were in the '60s, and population wise. But to compare things is, I've always told you the story about Harry Carey was in town with the White Sox, and I want to write a column on him. I picked him up at the hotel there and took him over to the scoreboard in the scoreboard bar, 3-2 joint in Bloomington, which had cable TV, and the Cubs games were on. And that was like the infancy of, and nobody had cable TV in their house yet, hardly. But the scoreboard bar, a little 3-2 joint and Harry was in there drinking 3-2 beers, buying 3-2 beers for everybody, saying, "How come our games aren't on? How come we don't have the White Sox on?" I said, "Well, one, Harry, you're not playing, and two, you're not on WGN." So, and WGN was the original.
You gave him the idea.
Oh yeah, right.
You deserve credit for Harry.
Switch channel. Harry got fired. Harry got fired by the White Sox. That's how he ended up with the Cubs. I always told you the story. He was drinking at he was having lunch at the Ambassador in Chicago after he got fired, and 2 days later he was the Cubs guy, and I was going to do a column, and I found out he was at the pump room in the Ambassador. How did I find out? I don't know. Maybe I just guessed because he stayed there. And I called the maitre d' and said, is Harry Carey in there? And he said, yeah. I said, I'm blah, blah, blah. I want to talk to him. He said, well, he's eating lunch and having drinks. And I said, well, go ask him if he'll come to the phone. And they took the phone over. They took a phone over and plugged it in. And I interviewed him while he was sitting in the pump room having drinks. And that's when he gave me the Joe McConnell, replaced him. And he said, Joe McConnell couldn't sell a Budweiser to a dying man crawling across the Sahara Desert, So that was, that was a little different too. So, and then of course he got on WGN, and he was always huge and popular, but that quadrupled it when he became the Cubs guy. So.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
But
So
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
just the world is you just can't compare
No,
what was
no.
then and now. I mean, it's not. I mean, Purple Daily there was a post game shows call in. You could call in CCO. I think after Viking games, like a half hour afterwards, but you really couldn't insult the Vikings, else they'd probably cut you off.
Hey, what was your opinion of that? And I saw that you tweeted about it. That Fran Tarkington thing, where he now comes out and says we didn't practice the week before, so two
Well, he
weeks
was.
off, right? And we
I
didn't
mean, they
practice the first week.
well, they didn't. Yeah, but there was always a week off, but they did not practice the first week. Hell, if they wanted to, they could go home for 3, 4 days. 'Cause Bud believed in doing what you did. Now, maybe when he got down to uh, to the site of the Super Bowl to start practicing, uh, they were behind, but they were. I mean, Burnsy and the guys. Bud was probably out shooting birds or something. Well, not at that time of year, but the Burnsy and the guy, they were working and doing their stuff, but I don't think they might have, like, on the Saturday beforehand have a walkthrough or something and get the game plans and stuff. But that was, it was kind of the headlines kind of said Vikings didn't practice. Well, they practiced the week they were down at the Super Bowl, and they did their stuff. And we were the first one. We were scandalized because there was birds in the birds in the locker room, and we had the second rate facilities.
It was like a high
Uh,
school field.
yeah, right, in the high school field down there, and but that was just Bud's. I don't think it was laziness. It was just his theory that is after a hard season, no sense in practicing everybody for. Plus, here you would have had to go someplace, right? You would have had to fly some
Yes.
other. You would have had to fly
Yes.
some other place to practice. We had this thing called snow up here, and if the Met Stadium field, they had a tarp on it with 2 feet of snow. I was out there once when they were practicing for a title game, and uh, they were at one of the Rams games, and they had the snow taken off the field back to about the 30-yard line, and they were going. No, it might have been the year they were going to Dallas to play in the Mud Bowl, and and but they had the field like they were practicing in a 30-yard uh, part of the field, the end zone, and then maybe out to the 25, 30-yard line. And that's on one side of the field down there by the scoreboard. Then the punter was punting and down there, and the ball landing in the snow, and somebody'd go back and get it. I mean, it was it was not. It did not remind you of the new Ziggy practice facility out in
It wasn't Winter Park because there
it
was no Winter Park yet.
yeah, Winter Park was delightful compared. So, but here's the bottom line that Viking fans don't want to believe: the Chiefs were better than them, and because we beat the Chiefs here in the opener the next year, blew them out. Sid and everybody said, "See, we were the better team." Look at that Kansas City crew of players they had. They had better athletes, and Zambi always told me Fred Zamberletti, he knew they were in trouble when he saw Jan Stenerode practicing his kickoffs, and the ball was way up there, like 40 feet in the air, and we had Freddie running up there kicking a line drive about 15 yards, and he said, I knew we were in trouble when I saw that. Then the other athletes, and then beyond that, Miami was way better than them. Oakland was way better than them. And in between, when they played Pittsburgh, Fran had a bad arm, supposedly, a bad shoulder, and they couldn't move the ball at all. It was 2-0 at halftime. Now, the one interesting thing is I don't believe we've scored a point in the first half of a Super Bowl yet, right?
I have to go
Didn't they,
back and look.
didn't I think they got shut out in the first half in all four?
Every
So
one of them.
maybe but Fran is never going to take credit for a poor performance by Fran. Even at this advanced age, he's always going to find some excuse. But that's easy to say when that I don't think that had anything to do with being 0-4 in Super Bowls.
Hey,
Hey,
Twins.
I got it. Yes, Twins.
Yeah,
They're going
let's
to
talk.
keep everybody right. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
what?
find out.
So what's your take on that? And does keeping the status quo or those three guys, like, okay, are you going to add? And they claim that they're going to add some, but they're not saying how much. And I'm not buying this whole thing.
No, I'm not either. Why would you say that? Just wait and see. If somebody blows your doors off wanting Joe Ryan, do it. If somebody blows your doors off wanting Buxton, do it.
I think
You
they
know,
would. Yeah,
probably yes, they would. So what do you want to say that for? You think this is going to cause a rush to the season ticket window? For God's sakes, just just do what you do.
I think the reason why is Patrick on Thursday of last week. Ken Rosenthal went on a baseball podcast and said the Twins are a mystery. No one knows what they're doing. No one knows who's coming and going. And on Friday, he reported, Ken did, in The Athletic, that they anticipated keeping those three. I think they saw that go out there nationally and said, let's try to slow things down. But I'm with you. I think if they get the right offer for any of those three, they're gone.
Yeah. What are you holding them for? Now I would say but I think they got to get Joe Ryan signed, don't they? Unless or trade him, one of the two, right? Because next year you would then have to trade him, right? If you're not, because I would think that you either pay him or let him go, or go see what you can get, and you can get plenty. But I will say this: if Pablo's healthy and Joe Ryan's back, they could have a pretty good rotation. Because I like Zebby and I don't know over. I don't think over when he. I don't think throwing 89 is going to get it done. Do you? I just I think the
No.
league. I think the league kind of. They
Yeah.
basically, some of these teams just said don't swing at a slider, right? When they faced him, and that put him in trouble.
Right.
Then he's 2-0 count. So I don't know. I got one question for you. I watched some of the Wild and the Crackheads last night. What happened to Seattle? Weren't they in the finals like their second year of existence or something?
They made the playoffs their second year, but they have not had
Didn't they have didn't they have a run one year? I thought they had a run one year.
not a
No.
playoff run. They've been I think they've been to the playoffs once now, but the the Golden Knights ruined it for all the expansion
Yes.
teams because that's when everyone was like, "Don't take this player. We'll give you two players. We'll give you
Yes,
three
right, right.
players."
And
And the
when the
Golden
crack
Knights went to the Stanley Cup Finals. What in their expansion season, which also
yes.
was ridiculous.
And the Kraken, nobody would make those deals with the Kraken.
Correct.
They did. So okay.
They got
Uh,
good players, but they didn't get as many good players as Vegas did.
do they pack it in out there or not? Are they drawn real
I think
well
they're
or what?
drawn well. I'm not positive about that, but yeah, I think that they do well.
Uh,
So, but they're not
I
good.
watched quite a bit. They're boring, man.
Yes,
They don't put any pressure on at all. So
yes.
they I do like the fact that this Dunn can come over there and you know virtually try to kill a guy, but it's not a penalty because you know it's they should have an excessive force penalty when the guy can't see you coming or
Oh,
something. My
Zuccarello,
God,
yeah,
when he leveled
that's
Zuccarello.
got to be a concussion, right?
Oh yeah, did he? He never came back, huh?
He never came back, and his head snapped back enough that I don't think he's going to be playing for a while. Unfortunately for the Wild.
He because it was he the one who was out for quite a while and then came back
Yep,
finally.
yep. He had some type of surgery to start this in training camp, and so he was out for the first part of the season. In fact, I think he came back around at the time that they flipped things in November when things started to go well.
Mhm. And I also watched the fourth quarter of our Wolves last night. You got this anonymous collection of sons playing here. They just had beaten you, and they are running. I don't know what they're doing, but they are getting much better shots through the fourth quarter. The open shots, layups. These guys are running some crap offense. The Wolves. They basically just come down and Edwards yo-yos, and they don't. They you hope they're not good. They have no depth.
They're making a trade. They're making there's no
They have,
they're making a trade.
and Rudy gets mad because
Yeah.
somebody accidentally hits him in the head, so he goes and commits a foul and gets thrown out, which he deserved to get thrown out. But they hadn't been playing him in the fourth quarter anyway. But they have no depth whatsoever, and it's all Ants trying to be Luca, but he's not Luca. Luca's Luca, and Ants. They're not good. They're a playing team. They're the playing tournament. They're 7 through 10.
They're making a trade. There's no question in my mind. They're making a trade. They're going to get somebody who can handle the ball, and it doesn't. Their problem is that, like, for 1 or 2 series, they'll look great. Like, they'll be moving the ball around, and then 3 series are just a disaster.
And they're so high on Dillingham, they were playing bones last night. Was Dillingham hurt or just not playing?
No, he's out of the rotation now, and I don't think it's going to work, unfortunately, for him. His timing is bad. He needs time to learn, and they don't have time for him to learn.
Yeah, kind of like the quarterback for the Vikings. Yes,
okay. Very much so.
But of course, the only difference is Dillingham missed his rookie year because they didn't play him, not because he was hurt. That's the only difference. So anyway, the crowds are down a little because they're charging so much money to get in. I think ticket prices got a lot to do with it, but the enthusiasm for this team is not the same as it was last year, and for good reason. They aren't that good. So I mean, Randall's fine and McDaniel's fine, but
McDaniel's has been great this season.
Yeah,
I mean, he's made huge steps.
They by the way, I listened, and what it was on. What was it on last night? Peacock or something?
It was on FanDuel, Sports North, and Peacock.
Oh, I listened on Peacock.
Did you?
This color commentator, this analyst for them is an idiot. I can't stand him. I don't know who it was, but I didn't know it was on FanDuel, else I would have found it. I didn't know we had the local telecast going. So,
no, Jim Pete was good.
I better sell you a vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Have you looked outside, ladies and gentlemen? There's snow out there. We're going to have one of those winters. The last 2 winters, heaven, hardly any snow. It was fantastic. But guess what? We're going to pay for our sins of the last couple of years this winter. Every time you look out, there's another 4 inches of snow on the ground like there is today. You know what you need? A Buick SUV from Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers. As a fellow who owns his own small convertible, but has a wife with an SUV, I end up getting the SUV a lot more when there's snow out there. Can I use your car, honey? Well, you don't have to say that because you can get yourself a new Buick SUV 2024, 2025 at Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers. 147, just go out Cedar Avenue to 147th, take a right. Factory rebates are huge. Interest rates are low. And financial people will make it happen for you. Go check out the variety of wonderful SUVs they have from Buick and GMC.
All right, sir. We will talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks,
Patrick. Bye-bye. Bye.